Yo, what's happening guys? Welcome back to the channel here at Crayford's today. So going to be taking you through full body session. The reason being is I fly to Dubai tomorrow. So we're just like stimulating everything. It's a bit of a deload session, you could say, because the intensity is going to be a little bit lower than usual, but we're going to hit everything. Shoulders, arms, quads, bit of chest, and then go from there. And then throughout the video, I will be talking about when you would potentially need a deload or a devolume and what the signs are if you do actually need one or not. So stay tuned. Just starting with cuff flies for the delts, as you've all seen before. Gonna hit these before I move into the shoulder pressing today, just to get them nice and warm. And then, as I said, we'll do a bit of arm work. Today I'm just trying to stimulate, get a lot of blood flow in there. I'm not actually taking a deload or devolume myself. Obviously that's what the video is about. It's just been a bit of a hectic week. I took 3 rest days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because I was out on Sunday, so you've got to live a little. And then I fly tomorrow and I'll be training at Banus Friday and Saturday. So I cannot wait for that, it'll be very good. Right, let's jump on that chest fly over here and we'll do chest isolation. Then we'll move into the shoulder and chest compounds after that. I'm not going massively heavy today. I went out Sunday, enjoyed myself, took 2 days off after, so I feel a little bit rested, but I'm not coming in here, especially because I'm doing the full body session. I'm not looking to PB and beat my best logbook ever. I just want to have enjoy my session, get a good pump. Sometimes when you've been so regimented with bodybuilding, especially during that prep for 20 weeks, meal by meal, macro by macro, cardio every day, 60, 90 minutes, training, that's so regimented that I feel like you need a bit of time off. That doesn't mean slack. I'm not slacking today. I'm just going a bit freestyle and a bit free flow and actually enjoying it. And that kind of gets you ready to go back into being in that regimented state, which we'll be approaching soon. Because when I get back from Dubai, we have off season. And you still have to be regimented in off season with your food and stuff like that. So, you know, I feel like now I've got my excitement back for training, because I was in hospital, it set me out a little bit. But now I feel like I'm back, and when I'm excited to train in Dubai, and then I'm excited to come back, start my cycle, push my food, and just create a whole new physique for next year. We're going old school today. Drop sets, high reps. Ooh. Heavy. Right, so we're going to be running through the differences between a devolume and a deload, how I would personally structure either of those, why you would use them, what are the signs that you actually need one? And do you actually need one? Because I feel like, listen, I am a massive advocate of managing fatigue in bodybuilding in general, whether that's a prep, off season, it is crucial and it is very important and it is data that we should track. But I feel like sometimes the community's gotten a little bit soft. People are asking for a deload every 3 weeks. People that don't even know how to train with intensity or to true failure are asking, should I be taking a week off? In terms of whether you should, some of the signs we will run through a little bit later in the video. Right, so generally speaking, a deload, so let's differentiate between what I call a devolume to a deload. A deload for me is complete time off. Let's say 1 week off training. You don't even come into the gym. That's a full deload. A devolume would be still coming into the gym, doing all 3, 4 or 5 sessions, but hitting the sessions with much less intensity and with a lot less volume. So let's say you'd have 1 working set as opposed to 2 on your heavy stuff, and then 2 working sets as opposed to 3 or 4 on your isolations. So there's a reduction of volume and the intensity is reduced also. You might hit a set of 10 to 15, say you hit 13 reps, but you would have had 3 or 4 reps in the tank. So you're basically training with reps in reserve on the devolume sets. There's benefits to both. I personally feel like if you are really, really overreached and you're in an overreached state, so basically how I would describe it is your training volume goes up and up over time. Say this is week 1, this is week 20, week 16. You ramp up the fatigue, you reach an overreached state where you start getting signs of heavy fatigue, which I'll run through in a bit. You are due a devolume or a deload. If you are really, really fatigued and the signs of overreaching or overtraining are very, very bad, like you can't sleep, you feel terrible, I would advise taking a full week off and then going again. With a devolume, you're still coming in the gym. I think a devolume is potentially better for someone who isn't as fatigued, but just needs a little bit of a breather before the next push. And I would say that if you have a full deload, it's sometimes hard when you get back into training in the first week. You feel a bit stiff, you feel not as strong, even though you've recovered from that fatigue. But that's just because you haven't done the movements that week. You've gone from doing 5 sessions a week to 0. And then you go back to doing your 5 sessions a week and you're a bit like, you've got to get the oil or grease the groove, oil the cogs, whatever phrase I want to use for that. Whereas a devolume, you've still come in and trained. So you've still oiled the cogs, so you're pretty loose. So I would say I generally feel stronger after a devolume. I feel like I've not had time off, but if I really, really needed time off and I was ill, say for example, I would advise a full deload. But it just depends on where you are in your training volume and how much fatigue you can manage. So devolume, deload, there's a little bit of differences between each. Only really take a full deload if you are heavily, heavily fatigued from months of training. Oh mate, my shoulders are fucked. I did have a client say to me, this was after like 10 weeks or 8 weeks of training. But you've got to understand, when you're a novice, when you're first starting out, it's very unlikely that you can train to true failure, that you're burying yourself every session with intensity, because you're learning intensity in like the first year of training. So a novice, I would argue, needs devolumes or deloads less so than more advanced lifters. More advanced lifters can train with much more intensity, with much more volume, and therefore they need to manage fatigue a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? They need to manage fatigue a lot better. So yeah, if you're like new and you're saying after 8 weeks, do I need a deload? No, you would know. So I'm gonna list off some of the signs that you would need a devolume or deload. some of which I have 100% come across. Let's first talk about motivation to train. It's a very hard one, this, because some people generally just lack motivation. But when I've been in a very overtrained state, the last thing you want to do is even go into a gym. I never get that unless I'm really absolutely trashed from months of training, months and months. It's not just the odd session that you have a hard session and you wake up and you ache. A deload or a devolume is generally after months of accruing, of battering yourself, basically. Signs of needing a deload or overreaching are going to be lack of motivation to train. Your resting heart rate will be slightly higher because of potentially higher cortisol in the body. The stress hormone is higher because you're under recovering at that point and you're overstimulating. So it's when the nervous system, it's basically the nervous system controls the whole muscular system, right? When your nervous system is fried, that's when things go south. So your resting heart rate will be up. Sleep is a huge factor in determining whether you need one or not. If you are not sleeping and your sleep quality suddenly goes really bad and you can't sleep, you get insomnia, I would know straight away because I'm out like a light at night. When I'm overtrained, I'm wired, looking at the ceiling. So that's another huge sign in determining whether you need one or not. And we'll run through a couple more in a bit. Oh, nice little pump on that. So as I mentioned over there, resting heart rate is higher, sleep is massively affected, then that is like a domino effect to even worsen the current fatigue state you're in, because sleep is probably the best tool for recovery that we all have. Even if you're not into bodybuilding, even if you're just, even if you're just, someone who doesn't train. If you don't sleep well, your body and brain will suffer. So they're the main two signs. Another weird sign is your grip strength may suffer and you'll find it hard. Like I remember when I was really, really overtrained, I wasn't very clever back then, so this was when I was like 22. I'd trained hard for months and months, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, for about 8 months, 1 rep maxes every 3 weeks. I went to train one day, didn't want to train, felt terrible, tried to push through it. I remember trying to lift 60 kilos off the floor, double overhand, and I couldn't even grip the bar. Then one time I had to bench the bar, no weight on it. As I come down, I went to push, my chest cramped up. The bar felt like 100 kilos, that is no exaggeration. And then I ended up having the flu 2 days later. So I personally believe I trained so hard, I buried myself, didn't have a deload, had the flu. So, because your immune system is going to be a lot lower because your cortisol is higher, etc. So some other signs can be a reduction of appetite also, and DOMs will generally be more intensified. So you'll start to find that you're aching more from your lifting sessions, and the delayed onset muscle soreness is lasting longer than it usually is. Also, if you're getting little niggles in the connective tissue, in your tendons, ligaments, and you're feeling like an old man basically. If you feel stiff and you're getting pains in your elbows, that could be a sign of overuse and that you do need to take time off. Right, let's basically wrap that there. So let's recap. Most of the time, you think you need a deload, you probably don't. How often should you have them? Let me cover that quickly. A lot of people will say different things, right? Sometimes I feel like people program them too soon. Now, Callum sometimes has on an escalating volume. So base volume, volume plus, plus plus, then the devolume. Sometimes I feel that I don't need the devolume, so I'll run through once more. Some people actually take a devolume every 4 weeks. Personally, even if you're training at maximum intensity for 3 to 4 weeks, I think you might be losing out on some progress, because if you're taking them when you don't actually need them, that week you're not necessarily progressing. You know, if you do that 3 times in 4 months, you've had 3 weeks where you could have been improving your logbook, beating your numbers, getting bigger, getting stronger, when really you've backed off and you didn't really need to back off. For me personally, I'd say I'd devolume every 3.5 to 5.5 months, right? So that's what, but again, if you think about the signs of overreaching that I've listed today, when you get those signs, then you know to take the devolume or deload. So don't take them too soon, because you could affect progression. Don't not take them at all, because you will end up how I was when I gave myself the flu 3-4 years ago, and then you'll lose out on 2 weeks of training. So then you're regressing in that manner. So it's just finding a balance of having them at the right time. I would probably opt for a devolume as opposed to a deload. So have 3 or 4 sessions that week with reduced volume, reduced intensity, but you're still stimulating the nervous system by doing all of the movements that week. Or if you really, really need it, take a deload. One thing I will say for like lifestyle clients, because this has been more so for like bodybuilders, prep clients, etc. If you have a holiday, take your deload on holiday, because it's already there. Don't take a deload before your holiday, then go on holiday, because you're having a deload anyway. So try and be clever with, you know, if you have 4 or 5 days where you're at a course on work, take that as a deload. Don't be having 4 or 5 days off because of work, then taking the deload within the next couple of weeks. You will recover from the fatigue that you've built up if you have that 4 or 5 days off. So just be smart about it. If you've got any questions about deloading or devolumes, hit me obviously down below in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, and I always reply to people on there. I'm still taking on clients. So if you're looking to get in shape, obviously I'm going to plug my online coaching now. I might as well have a look at my business page. All of the boys and girls that are working underneath me on the team look fantastic, so it'd be nice to have you on board. But probably just going to get a little bit more training footage now. I'm going to do some arms. You'll probably see me doing a little bit of leg work, and I will still be talking to the camera, but that's the deload covered for this video. Fuck, it's heavy. Oh, fuck. Done. Oh, yes. Right, I'm going to wrap that there. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. So we covered the deload, we covered the devolume. Any more questions, just shout at me. Next video will be when I'm back from Dubai, but I've still got content to dish out whilst I'm out there. So make sure you head over to my Instagram, Luke Blake PT, and I'll catch you over there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you're subbed to the channel. Got a big off season ahead, and then hopefully a competition next year. So stay tuned. Peace.